All right, folks, welcome to the 2023 New York Regional Playoff Preview Show. I'm Food, we've got Bob, and we've got Caputo in here. Hello, fellas.
Good eve.
Very
Hello,
good.
hello, hello.
Very good, very good, very good. Good start. We have a nice playoff day on the horizon for Sunday. Weather looks very nice, so we don't have to talk about that at all during the show, so that's nice. And it'll be a nice climax of the season. I think it's been a pretty good year. We had six nice events, although we didn't have a lot of parity in terms of champions. We had Withfink win four of them, Enemy win one, and State of Mind won the other. So before we get into the brackets, your guys' quick thoughts about the season as a whole so far. We'll start with Caputo, the new guy. Not new, but new.
That was a pretty exciting season. I guess a little different just because Wiffleball ran the table pretty much all year and not the enemy like it's been in the past. But it's pretty good parity. Different teams making runs, mixing it up, seeing some new faces really smash, really, pitch really well. It's good to see.
Well said. I agree. Bob, what do you think?
Yeah, kind of disappointing year for the enemy. Heck of a year out of Wiffink. I mean, in both formats, they're kind of kicking everyone's butt in MAW and fast pitch as well, which is a pretty similar roster. Without so that's kind of what Yard's been for a long time. There's a couple teams at the top that are real tough to beat, and some years they just get the best of everyone each week, and everyone else just beats the crap out of each other. So that's why it's a total log jam everywhere else, and that's really what we're here to talk about. I think the theme of the show will really be: will anyone take out either the enemy or Wiffink, or will they have to, sort it out themselves? And that's really the theme. Are they beatable? Yes. Are they beatable right now this season in terms of Wiffink? They're really tough right now. Enemy, they got a lot going on, so they seem beatable, but they're still the enemy, even with their roster adjustments, and they still have the pedigree and all that stuff. So even their moves have been, enemy-esque. So I don't know. There's a lot to talk about beyond them, so I think that's what we'll try to focus on, so that these new faces that Anthony keeps mentioned, can be brought up, because there are a lot of great players. Because we're segueing into goal season, and that's where the guys that could make a showing, this weekend, could really affect, what their fall season is like in terms of draft position and teams that are looking at them. Because it doesn't take much in this league for someone to turn an eye and be like, that guy rakes, that guy's sick, and he's on a goal team.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is the regionals and the open is where you make or break your goal draft position. You can jump from the third round to the first round very quickly with some very impressive performances. Yeah, I mean, just to echo both of you guys said, I mean, besides those two teams, where there is a logjam basically from fourth down to really 10th here, if you look at the standings, 12 points separate those teams, and that's 4 through the 10 seed. So a lot of teams that are pretty even. We made comments in the beginning of the year about how there were a lot of bad teams. That theme has continued, as you can see, by a lot of under 500 records, but also some well over 500 records. A lot of teams having bounce back seasons, very, winning more games than they probably would have expected. And you have a couple of teams that definitely underperformed as always. So we'll go into some of those matchups. And you're right. Really, we're going to spend most of the time talking about who's going to go on a run, who might upset the enemy, who might upset Withink, and then when they don't, we'll see. We'll talk about the finals.
Obviously, all three of us are showing our cards here a little bit early. However,
Well, yeah. I mean, well, listen. I mean, if there's any team that's going to get upset, which I'll tell you right now, it's going to be the enemy. And I told Caputo a scenario earlier that if it happens, it'd be great for the league.
wow.
We all can assume what that's going to be. Alrighty, so I'm going to bring up the bracket now, and let's just get right into it here. All right. So just a review, we take the top 16 teams in the region, put them in a bracket here. When teams don't show up, teams then just are slotted up. So for this tournament, Sunday, State of Mind is not playing. So because of that, everybody shifts up a seed. And then in terms of win percentage being a tiebreaker, Bombskis and Whiff City swap seeds. Bombskis moving up to 11, and the Whiff City down to 12. Notice no Wife City this year and no Wife Inc. Unfortunate changes, but we had to make sure that the spelling guy was up to the task this year, and looks like he did a good job.
Love that.
Yeah. So our first round here, these will be 5 inning games. You've got the 9 seed Hazardous taking on Yee's Funhouse. We got Whiff City taking on Goodfellas in the 12-13. The 11 seed Bombskis, 14 seed Wahoos, 10 seed Dumps, 15 seed Game Changers. Dead End Kids, the 5 getting a bye. Screwballs, Earl, and Throwbacks all getting byes to the second round. And then your top 4 teams in the region, Whiffink, Chum, Enemy, and the Dark Knights getting the bye until the quarterfinals, 10:30 a.m., maybe earlier. Be ready. So which matchup do you guys want to start talking about first?
I mean, do you want to go round by round, or you want to go through these? I guess we got to go round by round, right?
Yeah, I mean, we'll go. Yeah, obviously we have to go round by round because we have to talk about the first matchup. We have to see who's going to make it to the next round. So I don't know. Who do you want to talk about? You want to talk about? I don't know. Let's talk about this Hazardous East Funhouse game right off the bat. Let's just start it off. And how Dan Moore's probably gonna have a meltdown around 8:30, and Hazardous probably lose to this game. If there's gonna be an upset, this could be the game. And it really has nothing to do with Yee. It has everything to do with Hazardous imploding, because I think they've overachieved this year. They would be the first to admit that. Although they've had a great season, I think they definitely have overachieved. However, they have not been as good as they were the first event. They've actually gotten worse each event. Finals, Final Four, Final Four, 8, 16, 16. Didn't play.
Wow, did not play.
Computer about this matchup.
What is Yee's Funhouse roster? I heard rumblings of Bumpy quitting and playing, and
yeah. Well, it looks like
playing at the Open. Like, make up your mind, Bump. I mean, figure it out. I love you. You. God wants to play. He'll do anything, but figure it out.
Yeah. He's always keeping himself available.
Well, this is I would think it's a close game. Although you're going to say that with a lot of matchups, so I'm going to try not to say that too much tonight. But Hazardous, you would assume with how Hazardous performed this year that they would have the edge. Although Yee has the wild card with G, and he can smash anybody at any time. In a one game elimination sort of setting, G could take over a game, and they could easily take that game.
G
Although
could take over a game,
he could.
I'm not
at the plate. At the plate, he can. Realistically,
yeah, Anthony, we brought you on the show because though we're gonna have some intelligent comments here, and now you're telling us that G is taking over games.
I mean, I know a lot of guys are trying to stick with G, but who's pitching this matchup? That's
where I didn't get there yet. That's all. Like, if G is pitching the game, they literally don't have an arm. Realistically, they don't. So they're walking in everybody every game. So as long as Mora just stares at everything, he doesn't get out. Mora can hits. Geoff hits. Tyler's is finding his bat this year. It's. You would assume that Hazardous has the edge just because of the year they've had so far, but they have fallen off the last, few events with the surprising start, which we found surprising.
It's not been because of their offense, so they're going to score a lot of runs off Yee's Funhouse. So unless someone steps up and actually throws a couple of zeros,
agree. That's going to be like a 9-7 game.
I mean, they may not throw more of that game. Maybe if they throw, Geoff throws 100 miles an hour. So
Geoff or more, they're gonna hold them down to something unless Geoff.
Maybe Adele takes the game and then blows it with that knuckleball.
I would set the line on this game at like Yee's Funhouse -2.5 as well.
You think they're favored?
So Hazardous -2.5. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's reasonable.
Yeah, Hazardous is like a -260 on the money line.
I do think that
-200, 250. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
they're just a better all-around team.
You're right. Who's going to pitch for them? You could pitch. I mean, listen, you can get some guys out. You can go.
Unless he steps up and pitches, they're not winning this game because G's an embarrassment.
G's off.
On
the mound, he's awful. At the plate, he's good. You see his numbers. If you pull up his numbers, he's
you know what though? I'll give
more
G
than adequately.
I'll give G a pass here though. G tends to be good in the morning. His best game is probably the first game before he starts, devolving into what he is the rest of the day. That
Well, I
first
mean, it depends
game, he's
on the
usually rip
temperature, how
roaring,
hot it
playing
is.
well.
Maybe
If it's humid, it's supposed to be nice out, from what I see.
it'll be
So
humid.
if it's but if it's like that at 85, humid, hot, and he's losing, but it's like it's a first round playoff game. It's right off the bat, the game means something. Sometimes he can't get up for those group games that he doesn't care. Once he gets to the playoffs, he's kind of good. So I don't know. I would have to sort of disagree with you a little bit.
All right,
He
well,
might be good right off the bat just because it means something.
I don't want to spend too much time on G here.
No,
But it's
we shouldn't be talking about a
hazardous
16 seed that snuck in
Put it
either.
that way. It's hazardous game to lose, and they
That
have a
is
lot of personalities on that team that are known losers. So it's definitely possible. I don't think it'll be in that game, but when they face adversity,
Great.
proven that they fail more times than not, except for those.
And don't forget about
They're a good team.
Don't forget about Peja. Peja stinks too.
Yeah, and if Pedro touches the mound, how's just going to score 18 runs? So I mean, Yee needs to pitch the game if they have any serious reality of winning the game, because then they're playing throwbacks. You could throw G, and at least it's that Beck's familiarity, whatever.
Familiarity.
They got a chance then, but
Yeah,
they got to throw their best option against Hazardous.
I agree. All right, let's move on down the line here. Let's go to Whiff City and Goodfellas. Whiff City is such an interesting team. They seem to play the enemy so tough, and they beat them a few times this year, and yet they seem to lose to everybody else. So they're really an anomaly. And the Goodfellas who've made a lot of positive strides this year, a lot of improvement from guys like Hot Joe Santorelli and Jake Nabb, and Billy Pearson's been a nice addition for them, providing some depth on the mound. And Dan Nabb is Dan Nabb. So this is going to be a pretty interesting game. I think it's a pretty even game. Although I would give Whiff City the edge, I think, on the mound. I think they have overall better pitching staff. But if I had to pick a team to win this game, I do think it would be Whiff City, but I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think it'll be a very, very close game. Your thoughts?
Rob, go ahead.
Wow, deflecting.
I think it will be a close game. I think this could be the most exciting game in the first round. I think the most likely game to go to extra innings, the most likely game to have like a walk-off home run or something, some sort of back and forth affair, because Goodfellas, they've made their strides, and Whiff City is really a veteran team. So Whiff City should look at this game like, Goodfellas, this is a team that we want, we should be able to beat, but they have good athletes on there, and they throw Billy Pearson in game one. Like, he's no slouch, and he's tough to hit sometimes. So, and he pitches quick and throws a lot of strikes. So, the game gets away from you real fast. And they got good leadership in Dan Nabb, and I expect that to be a fun game. So, I'm gonna pick the Goodfellas. I think Hot Joe is gonna hit a big dinger, and it's gonna get loud and crazy, and he'll already have his shirt off, but maybe he'll take his pants off.
I'm gonna go. I believe Whiff City minus 140. I would have the line set as. They're just again an all-around better team. They have better pitching. But like you said, Dan Nabb is Dan Nabb. Guy's as tough as anybody to get out, and just always finds a way to make that play in the field to just keep the game close or to save an inning. And those kids are really coming along. When they started, you looked at them and you were like, wow, these guys have the best bodies in the league, but they have the least athleticism. And as they're coming along, they're really finding their stride at the plate, and they're really melding as a team. And they're putting up their upsets. They're winning their games, and they're you can see the progress every event. It's and they have a lot of fun. Yeah. But I would have to say, being Shokoff is sneaky good. He's he's under the radar. Shokoff at the plate and on the mound.
No, he's their best overall player in my opinion. He's really good.
Yeah, I would say he's their best two-way player.
Wow, Hot Joe! Look at that! Look at those numbers, Hot Joe.
Yeah, I want to bring him up here.
7 dingers. sexy man.
Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, I wanted to talk about like
Yeah,
earlier.
look at this.
You guys are saying here some good offensive numbers this year from these guys. A couple guys over 300, and some
Yeah,
slugging
man.
numbers are pretty good. This is what you're going to need to win some playoff games here. RBI 77 as a team. That sounds pretty good.
Wow, Joe's got like the exact numbers I have. That's fucking crazy.
Wow, is
That's
that good or
funny.
bad?
That's good.
Wow.
100 OPP.
I mean, I thought I had a good season, so I'm looking at it. It looks basically like almost my line.
500
That's
OBP is good. Two guys with 500 OBP. Dan Ambo was finding his way
yeah,
up.
dude. They can fucking slap, man. I'm sorry for my language. They slap.
Wow, that's okay. We won't get banned for that. Trust me.
Nah, kids are watching, but yeah, just Whip City just finds a way to get that big home run. You always see them over the fields, just rounding the bases, getting loud, late in the inning, walking it off.
No, they do it in the top of the inning, and then they got walked off in the bottom.
Yes, they're very good at being the road team and coming back and losing.
My God, there's so much
I guess
going
I'm not
on.
paying attention
No, they
enough.
lost by 6 runs. I'm like, what?
Let's take a look at their offensive numbers here, and similar couple guys. Patron has been a nice return for them.
It's good to see
Only
him
played
back.
in his minimum 2 events required, but he's a wild card. 4 home runs in those 2 events. Sholkoff with 9 home runs on the season. Not a bad season.
Man, guy's a beast.
He's a good player. Good player.
And I believe in terms of pitching as well, he's basically their second best pitcher, if not ace. I mean, no offense to Kazada. Sholkoff's ERA doesn't represent
Just in the league, I don't think guys know Sholkoff enough, really. And I think he's just really, making his mark.
Yeah, he's giving up a lot of runs, but I feel like he's always out there facing the enemy, though. But he's
He's
out
out there a lot.
40,
Look at his
giving
innings.
up 8 runs to
He's
the
got
enemy.
34 innings.
You got to remember the format of these events. I mean, it's a preliminary and then a single limb playoff. So like, someone's got to get stuck with the tough matchup, and someone usually compiles the losses, and the big blow up games happen. Like 4 and 5 is like, but his ERA is 2. He's been the ace role. Like 5 losses isn't a lot, but it's tough to get wins. That's why there's a lot of teams under 500. It's tough to compile wins because it's a tournament style. At some point, you got to rattle them off, and you're winning the tournament. And clearly, if Whiff Inc. and Enemy are winning every tournament, then most of us aren't getting many chances to win.
Yeah, I mean, you can go 1 and 3 every week.
Yeah, especially when you go 1 and 2, sneak into the playoffs, and then lose in the first round, like Earl has done most events.
Very good. And I do think before we move on, either one of those teams winning would provide a very good matchup for the Dead End Kids, and then a nice game against the Chum as well. This is a nice little line here in this bracket format here. These are 3.
I'm definitely looking forward to playing whoever wins that game. It should be a fun game.
I agree. All right, let's move it on down. We got the Bombskis and the Wahoos. Wahoo's moving up a few spots as well, with the benefit of teams not showing up and some win percentage. They've made some strides this year, but I do think overall still in the beginning levels of their wiffleball careers. And you have the Bombskis, who are an interesting group. You have basically the entire Wood family shows up, and then you have Scott Alford there, and who knows, maybe Joe Nord will make an appearance as well. They're really a boomer bust team for me. I feel like sometimes get in their own head about yard league, and they get frustrated that they're not winning as much or hitting the ball as much as they should be, or getting as many guys out as they should be. They seem to be easily frustrated, and I do think that hurts them. And this first game of the day, they should win this game, but then they're going to face the Screwballs, and the Screwballs are the definition of a frustrating team to face. So I don't know how much of a run the Bombskis may go on this week. But Bob, what do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for the Wahoos, I mean, I don't think unless Sean Davis has a ridiculous knuckleball, which would be amazing because it would get them all riled up on the Bombski side. They're going to have a real tough time getting them out. And they don't score a ton of runs on their own. So it's going to be a real tough thing. If they haven't played the Bombskis in Ryan Wood before, they're probably not going to be too happy after this game. So,
yeah. Well, the one thing about them, if they throw Ryan Wood, I mean, and again, not trying to be mean here, but Ryan Wood throws pretty good yard stuff. It's right there, so it's hittable stuff, and you got to just get them out though, because they will also hit the ball very well.
Yeah, no, I mean the Wahoos. We played the Wahoos, I think, 4 times in the first 3 events. We just drew them every week, and it was like me versus Sean Davis every time, and the game kind of went the same each time. Um, but they've definitely made some strides. Sean is a really good player. He's comparing him to like a Tyler Can. He pitches very similar to him now with his knuckleball, just his body type, and just he's a big kid, big strong kid, and he swings hard, and when he makes contact, goes a mile. He just needs to be more disciplined overall with the game on the mound, at the plate, as a leader. He needs to be the leader without being, kind of like a scramble brain. He's kind of got some G tendencies, which is not good for a leadership role. And then there's the other kid. I forget his name. If it's not Eric or Theo. It's the fourth guy.
Brett Scheuerman.
Brett, really good, really really good. He's a really good hitter. I think his numbers show it too. I thought I looked at his numbers. I think he had a real high OBP and had a ton of like doubles or something. And he was just, I could just tell from pitching to him, he was the most professional hitter on the team. Sean might have the power and the strength and all that, but Brett was a hitter. And wow, wow.
There you go, right on point here. Batting.
They're a lower seed, they're a lower seed team, so that means that they're playing lesser teams later in the day when they're getting eliminated. Probably playing an exit game against a similar team. So, but still, those are fantastic numbers for anyone.
Yeah.
And 400 and better, whether you're playing the blind kids or the top teams in the league, 400s,
and
all-star numbers.
Yeah, before Anthony comes in here, right? I mean, again, 24 games too. This isn't over like a 12-game season. This is 24 games. This is 4 games a week, right? So, which is the minimum you play basically. So he's played every week, every game they could have played, and these are very good numbers. You said 5 doubles. It's pretty good. 4 homers, 19 ribbies. Again, you don't have a lot of ribbies when you don't have a lot of other guys on base. But as a team, 54 RBIs.
Yeah, I mean, listen, to have almost 560 on base percentage, and you have 2 guys on the team that are like under 200. So to have that much opportunity and still get on base that much, that shows a lot of patience, and it shows just he's clearly just a professional hitter.
Led the team in walks
out of a situation like I'm bad. I need to be in certain situations to succeed. Otherwise, I take my walks, I strike out a bunch, I do my thing. Like this guy, whether the team's up by 10 or down by 20, I guarantee you he's consistent throughout the way. Sean Davis only 2 homers. That's really
I'm more looking at the fact that Sean Davis threw 65 and 2/3 innings here, and I don't even know how that's possible. I mean, I guess he could pitch both. He pitches 2 pool play games and he pitches their playoff games. So he pitches 3 games a week, and they played 6 weeks. So that's 18 games.
Obviously, and then he pitches like their exit game too, since it resets anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
No, I mean,
the exit game or the playoff game is their third game.
Right,
the third game he could pitch.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow, that's a lot of innings. Love that.
Yeah, no, I haven't played. Oh man, I haven't played the Wahoos in a good like 3 years. Seriously, like just haven't played them. So I'm just haven't seen them. But seeing his numbers and Sean's numbers, don't take them lightly. That's all I gotta say.
Well, I hope Brett is playing goal. I'll just say that.
I hope so as well. I know that they're out for the Open.
Young days, I mean, guys having them.
They are.
You love to get guys that are on those sorts of teams that, you want to get them on, on other teams just to see what they have and what they can do with other guys. Be fun to see.
Yeah. And the Wahoos they've been in goal a couple years now. I know Eric,
yeah, definitely.
I think 3 years ago, and with Theo, I think they've been around for a couple of years. Sean played last year with me. That was his first year in goal, and now we just got to get Brett in there. And they're good kids too. They've taken their lumps, no doubt. But they have a great attitude. They have a good supporting cast. They bring down some spectators and some friends, and they're good guys. And let's hope that they continue to show up, and maybe they'll upset the bomb season. It'll be great.
That's also what those sorts of young teams have to remember, that like we all started there, or at least for the most of us, we all started there where we're having bad seasons, subpar seasons or not successful seasons like that, and just keep it up, and you'll get better. It gets better every year.
Yeah. I just noticed that Joe Nord didn't even play at all this year, so I guess he missed the week that I think the rain out. I think he was supposed to play, and then couldn't play the week after that, and then I guess he didn't play the rest of the season.
I know he was on bad weeks every week.
Yeah, I know he was. It was didn't line up correctly for his other stuff. But well, I guess that's a
See
tough
you at
game
the
for them.
Pro
But
Bowl.
more at bats for Ryan Wood, I guess. Right? I mean, that's always good for them.
Yeah.
He's got 40. He's their whole offense: 19 homers, 40 RBIs, 104 total bases.
Why isn't the other Wood in there? Was he just a sub?
He just came down the 1 week. Yeah, the brother.
Fake Wood. You should put him in as fake Wood.
Fake Wood, just Wood, just the name of Woods. Yeah, I don't remember his name. That was his older brother, and then Dylan is the younger brother, who's a rookie, who's a good little player. I mean, he's a lefty batter, righty thrower, I believe. Yes, I think that's the case. Definitely has that same like winner mentality. Like I want to go out there and I should be the best player on the field and kind of thing. And which is you want that kind of positivity in your teammates. But in terms of the team here, let's be honest here. Again, not a lot of experience for Dylan. Alfred is, we all know who Scott Alfred is. He's a kind of a boomer bust hitter, and he's all right, pretty good in the field, and he's not going to pitch. And Ryan will pitch, and he throws a lot of conventional stuff. He certainly doesn't throw a knuckleball, or if he does, he hates throwing it because he's so anti-knuckleball. He wants to ban it from the league. He wants to ban it from the world. And if they can shut him down, if Davis can shut him down, assuming he pitches, then they have a chance to keep it close. And then you never know later. If it's 1-1 in the fourth, you never know in these games. You get that extra inning, that fifth inning. It's a big deal in these games.
Yeah, I wonder how the Screwballs think about this. I mean, they're not afraid of anyone, but they're probably not happy to see. They know Ryan and Scott hit. They know that you got to score against those guys. They're going to give you the chance. They're going to let you score too. So I would take whatever the over is in Screwballs, bomb skis. If that game happens, take the over because Screwballs play the game that's given to them. If they give up 5 runs in the first inning, all right, it's going to be a high scoring game. They're not going to give in and lose 5-1 to someone like Ryan Wood who played in Coop's backyard. So no matter what's going on, it's going to be a close affair.
I would agree. All right, let's move on to our last first round matchup here. We have the 10-seeded LI Dumpies and our 15-seeded Game Changers, who jumped the 16 seed with the win percentage tiebreaker. Jumpy, so that made them the 15. The Game Changers are an interesting team. Don't really know who's on their team. They do have guys qualified, but then again, who's going to show up? Every week from Falcon, it's always like, well, this guy, I got this guy, this guy's brother, this guy's nephew, and this other guy's kid, and and they show up, but then they don't. But I know they have Jake Baddock, I know they have him, and I know they have Chris Cusimano, and the three of them, Jake is a good pitcher. Falcon hits everything, and I don't know too much about Chris, but I do know he's from what I hear, he's a fairly average player, pretty good, and this could be an interesting moment for the Dumps as a new team here. We'll see what they're made of with all that energy and a lot of DeSantis guys, a lot of lookalikes. I still don't know who half the guys are. And Petard, great names. So it's a young Pete Slater.
I'm gonna have to vote the Buffalo being the best nickname in the league so far.
Buffalo's a good one as well.
It's very, very good.
Who's that?
I don't know. One of the big kids. They're all the same.
I don't remember who wears it on their back now. I don't remember.
Oh, on the Dumps or on some other team?
Yes, on the Dumps.
On the Dumps.
Buffalo.
On the back of their jersey it says the Buffalo. This is Buffalo. I don't know if it's Nick DeSantis or Matt Schmidt. I forget who wears it.
The DEK guys got a kick out of that.
Right?
Huh?
Big fans of the Dumpies, even though they killed us last game.
I know who they all are now. Believe me, they're on my radar now.
Oh yeah, but I don't remember.
Yeah, they're on our radar.
So, yeah, this could be an interesting game. I don't know much about their pitching. I do feel like every time I'm over there, I see Anthony DeSantis pitching or Nick DeSantis pitching, but I don't know much else about their pitching staff.
Yeah, it's Schmidt or DeSantis pitching. Those are the two ones. Schmidt, I believe, is their ace.
Yeah, but I've seen Anthony pitch a lot too, so I don't know. I don't know if it's like a thing that they put him out there in certain situations. I don't know. They're an interesting team. Let's take a look. Take a look at their numbers.
Inside the numbers with.
I mean, again, shout out to the Dumps again. Another new team. They've been around for I guess this is their second year. Great young players, good young guys, more Suffolk County guys. Enough these six.
Numbers, Peter. Look at Pete Card slugging
Need
1,000.
need teams like this.
Yeah,
Need
that's
more
good
teams
stuff.
like
Thing
this.
with those numbers, dude. Fuck
Oh, look
that.
at this.
I
He
struck,
could-
him out, I struck him out 5 times when we played him, so he can suck it.
Yeah, see, Anthony DeSantis 6 games. Oh, Matt Schmidt and Nick 9 though. So yes, so there you go. There's your two guys.
Primaries.
Let's take a look at their pitching here. Let's see. ERAs. It's not great for Dommy Dumps. Tough seed.
Tom ass.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, not a lot of. I
I
don't know.
mean, they've just been
Pretty average, pretty average
Yeah.
numbers. Nothing, not bad, not good. I
No,
love the whip.
definitely-
Love having 2.5 guys on per inning. Very
Yeah.
food fan. I can relate to these numbers. These are very good numbers.
happens.
Love having first and second every inning.
or 3 or 9, or, it happens.
Yeah, and then grounding out into a double play and then a lazy pop up ends the inning. Great.
They certainly pitch better than those numbers, but a 4
Yes.
ERA is nothing in yard. While it looks it's average. Average means that, you're in every game. You're giving up runs, but you're scoring runs because look at those offensive numbers.
Yep.
95 RBIs, a lot more.
Yeah, a
than
lot of high scoring games for the Dumps this year.
14 seed,
Definitely.
whatever they are, 10 seed.
Excuse me. I don't know. I like their chances against the game changers. I think they're motivated, and I just worry the game changes just they don't not enough roster depth, and I don't know how good Falcon is out there in the field, and Jake is going to be their ace, and if he gets lit up a little bit early with these guys, it's going to be a long day or a short day actually for the game changers.
I don't even know if Jake will be there, to be honest. I feel
Well,
like
then
he's not going to be there.
Wow.
not great though. That's tough scene for
I
change.
mean, that would definitely impact my pick.
Jake Baddock there, I still think game changes maybe like a pick'em or like -110, maybe -120. Jake Baddock not there, then I like the Dumps heavy -150.
I would have to sort of agree with you there, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
I agree.
But Falcon is, again, don't count out Falcon. He'll bring, like a test dummy or something down to the field and the thing will rake somehow.
Yeah, but he's got to have been qualified to test dummy, or an equal replacement as a sub.
That's true. It is the playoffs. I forgot about that.
I would take the Dumps whether or not Baddock is there or not.
Wow, I like that.
Whether it's an upset situation because they beat Jake or whatever, like I still see with Earl following that winner, I'm expecting as a competitor to play the Dumps. I'm preparing for the Dumps because I need to prepare for the Dumps more than the game changers because I've played the game changers.
Wow,
I know.
bad coaching.
That
For only
that's
one
not even
team.
a negative to the game changers. It means I know what I'm getting with the game changers. I know I'm not going to know who's there until the day of. And I know the Falcons and Connor are just going to talk the entire time. And they're both going to hit 8 singles. And that's all they're going to talk about. But the game will be out of hand in our favor. Somehow, somehow.
32 singles.
Yeah, because he didn't show up the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean this. I don't disagree. I think the Dumps should win this game. In terms of a betting line, though, I think Jake Baddock on the mound still makes them a little bit of a favorite. But if he's not going to be there,
played him this year, he's been smashing, as you can see, like his numbers.
He was there 5-0. That's a pretty good
And
pitch.
he
Where was his
single
last
handed
year?
he beat either like State of Mind in a playoff game or Bomsky's like single handedly.
State of mind. It was.
He had like 2 home runs, and just destroyed them.
Yep. Well, this was great. Jake's a good player. This is what he did for us last year.
Play
July,
with him. Hey.
That was it.
Good player.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to the second round here. So we'll stick with Rob here. You're already here. You think it's going to be Dumps. So your thoughts on Earl Dumps and your thoughts on Earl in general. What's your team's mental state right now and your physical state?
Mental state poor. Physical state also poor.
Mhm.
Overall talent level average at best.
Sad to hear.
If we play the Dumps, we're expecting their best. So we've already discussed that we need to put our mental state aside and do our best and show our best and prepare and actually show up because we have not shown up since really week 3 because week 4 Winnie and I played as a 2. We played great. That was actually our best week, but in terms of playing as a team, week 3 was probably the only week, and I think we still lost in the first or second round of the playoffs. So we've been pretty underwhelming the entire season.
Yeah. We'll take a look at your offensive numbers here. I think it's impressive that Connor's played in 13 less games than you, but only has 9 less singles. That's a lot of singles. You guys have a combined 101 singles, the three of you. Johnny, you have 121 singles as a team.
Hey, we get a lot of hits. Tough to hit doubles in this league. I mean, Winnie led the league in doubles with 9, so I would just argue that we just got a lot of hits as a team. And
yeah, a lot of boomer bust hits, a lot of OPS hits. So
very good year
from
everyone offensively. 313, the lowest average on the team. That's impressive.
Yeah, but that really, I swear to you, that really came from the last 2 weeks, and we went 0-3 and 1-2. So I'm not really sure how that works out.
A lot of high-scoring games.
Probably because we got exit games and faced Peter.
I mean, that'll definitely help your average.
We scored 20 runs off of him.
No, he's not good.
I mean, you have 150 at bats. I mean, get off the field.
He's embarrassing.
So, but if you take a look at the pitching stats of your team, though, not great. Not great.
Me and Connor have to.
A couple of 4s, like you said, is average. You know,
that's
Johnny though, bad. Brian, Wynn, bad. I don't know why I just called him Brian.
John was, pretty bad. Yeah.
I didn't realize Johnny pitched 16 innings this year. When did he pitch 4 games? 6 games.
I don't know how he has 6 games pitched. There's no way that's true because he absolutely did not pitch until last week. So.
No way to be fudging your stats.
Tough scenes. Maybe putting Johnny down for bad games instead of Connor or Rob when he's not there. And Tyler get away with it.
Games were bad too because we gave up a lot of runs to Wiffleball in that game when he started, and then I came in and gave up.
Well, listen, here's the deal: your team's gonna have to score runs to go on a run Sunday, and I think that you will against the Dumps, and I think that game against the Dark Knights will be a very good game.
Yeah,
Dark Knights. I do think you'll be
historically bad against the Dark Knights, and we both treat each other like jokes. We are both jokes as teams because we can't compete against anyone real like the enemy and Wiffleball right now because neither team has the mental fortitude to do it because we're embarrassing and bad players. I think Mike Valenti would completely agree. Dan Hargate, I know, would agree. Mm-hmm. The rest of them, I think, are normal humans and are like, no, we're here to play and win. But Mike and Danny especially are just their own set of mental defective, similar to everyone.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. But I do think that'll be an exciting game, and you'll get to see, you'll see who gets to lose to the enemy.
Because he plays fake enemy. So, do they bench Pill?
They benched him last week. He didn't play in the finals. I even heard Kevin was like, Phil, do you want him at bat? Or Phil's like, no, man, I'm okay.
Oh,
how pathetic is that?
The person Phil's ever bowed down to is Kevin Norris.
Amazing. It's gonna be a tough scene for the enemy when Phil goes up there in a big situation because Kevin gets hurt, God forbid, re-injures something, can't play. They have to put Phil in.
Oof.
Not great.
Tough look.
All right. Let's keep moving back up the bracket here, and we'll finish up with the last 3 teams here in this round. You got the Screwballs, DEK, and Throwback. So we'll go Screwballs quick before we go to DEK. Another pretty good season from the Screwballs. I mean, what else do we say about them? 18-12, a lot of points. Second round bye again. What were you saying?
The 8-man roster.
25 guys in their roster. This is an incredible amount of players.
Johnny Fetchy,
how it's possible that they all played that many games as well. That almost makes no sense.
This is not. It's impressive. It's impressive. I don't know how JR could play when he had double knee replacements. So it's pretty interesting. Pretty impressed.
27 games. Yeah,
that could just be one at bat in some games. He's just an appearance because that did happen a lot. A lot of times he wasn't playing.
He's got 82 at bats. They completely lied to us.
Oh.
What their purpose of this?
Well, I wouldn't say they lied. I think they were genuinely surprised that Coop was showing up and playing, and
He
Jerry
also
claims he can bench Coop, but he doesn't have the heart to tell him no. It's like putting a dog down. He doesn't have the heart to tell him.
78. I think he is allowed to play.
This is incredible. Look at all the RBIs just divvied up.
It's amazing. That's just team ball right there. Even the 62-year-old.
It's crazy.
But as usual, though, it doesn't matter because Johnny Chech batting .516.
Is there a season that he doesn't bat over 500?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
This
I think he
means
goes 2 for 4 or 3 for 5 every game with a walk, an extra base hit, and I mean only 6 home runs. I think Johnny would say that's pretty low for him this year. But
miles the feed. Much of luck. He has 64 official at bats. You know,
so many walks.
How many times?
39 walks.
He's walked 40 times. And he only has 64 official at bats. There's not a lot of opportunities because people take the approach of just don't let him beat you that way.
Yeah.
Don't let him hit all the singles he wants.
A 700 on base.
Like I'll give him that all day.
It's stupid.
Go ahead, go on first base because there's 6 other guys I got to try to get out, and that's why all the RBIs are divvied up because Coop wins a game, and Jerry wins a game, and Steven wins a game, and Matty wins a game. It's just that's how they do it. It's team ball through and through. It's not we're benching guys to get an advantage. It's like no, we're doing what needs to be done as a team to win overall, and it's impressive how they do it. They're a machine. In terms of
and another thing too, if they really, if they're gonna bat 5 so many times, like Johnny to get this many at bats still, because as a 5, you naturally don't get as many at bats, and these are just impressive numbers. I mean, we might as well just give him the offensive player of the year every year, even though Kenny Jr. had a crazy year this year. But Johnny Chech, it should just be the John Chechio Offensive Player of the Year award because really he embodies the offensive player of the year.
Guys you don't want to face.
And he's 55 years old. Stupid. Hope I'm alive. All right, Caputo, your turn. Let's talk about. I mean, I guess we won't talk about Screwball's enemy. We'll save that for a little bit later, even if we will. I mean, we all know what's Screwballs could very well win the game. Enemy, who knows? But let's move on to Dead End Kids, Caputo. Your team, you're good, you're bad. What's going on here? Let's talk.
It's been a pretty tough season overall. Underwhelming numbers if you go to the stats for all of us. Definitely not playing up to the back of our cards. Really, really bad loss to the dumps to drop in our seed, to lose the double bye. I'm not going to go into great detail, save embarrassment. I'll just say we should have scored more. That's all I'm going to say. Other than that, a lot of fun playing with
well,
Doc
you didn't.
Taco
you were signed for G. Like, how much better does it get?
Well, I figure I'd be a little more consistent to at least show up for them, which I have, and at least provide, like I said, like more consistency at the plate. Which, I mean, me and him, G, are like a toss-up, I guess you could say. If you both go to our lines, we're basically the same guy. But I struck out way too much this year. Bad year. Could have been better. Bad leadoff hitter.
Knee injury.
Yeah, first year off the knee injury, which is fine. Played the field great.
He led the team in RBIs though, tied with was that Doc? No, with Petty. If you would have told me that you and Petty would have led the team in RBIs, I would have thrown up.
What, me?
Yeah, you and Petty led the team in RBIs.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't drive in a lot of runs.
18, Craig 17, FK 4.
Frank, no, that should be definitely more. That's what I'm saying. Like, if that even is true, which I don't see how that's true. He's hit. I mean, he hit a home. I thought he had more home runs than one.
It's possible. Stats.
I don't know. But
yeah,
only
play
like
15
said,
games. I guess he only play a couple weeks. So it's possible.
Yeah.
But as usual, Listen, we know how DK is going to come down. You're going to throw Doc in that. You're going to throw Doc in this game against Whiff City or Goodfellas, and then your
Yep.
biggest decision is: do you start Doc against the Chum, or do you get through with FK for the first couple innings, and then you go to Doc the rest of the game? And that's just it. Your day is FK first, then Doc. FK first, then Doc, and then if you need to throw Petty in, maybe an inning or there. That's probably how it goes.
I feel like Doc has been, Petty's been the number two for most of the season. I mean, mostly because I guess the numbers are similar.
Yeah,
Uh,
Frank,
Mix it up. I think that's what they need in order to beat some of these teams. You know, you need to use Petty and Frank. You know, in positions where they could be successful. Both guys are where they are. They got decent stuff. Depending on the conditions and the day and who they're playing, kind of determines who should be throwing. So I think that'll be a feel thing based on who feels better and what these guys decide. I mean, Anthony would know better, but you know, that's generally how they go about it. They want to give Frank innings when they can because that's where Frank feels like he contributes still as well. Obviously, his offensive numbers aren't great, and Frank's always been that way. He doesn't have for a high average, but he you know, he's clutch every now and again, and he takes his walks and he knows his role. And if his role is eating some really important innings to be a bridge to Doc, like that's huge. The less you pitch Doc, the better in those golden games because while Doc is elite, you know, the more you see him, the easier it is to get a hold of something. So if you could have Petty and Frank pitch the first 4 innings, and Doc only has to throw 3, and you have a lead going into one of those games in the final 4, like that's the position you want to be in. You know, against an enemy, against the whiffing, like you can't show all your cards on your ace and expect to win. Like you can't rely on him to win you the game. You need the other guys to not lose you the game.
right. Yeah. Ideally, you want to get Doc in there in the more important innings, especially in a golden game type of setting where you might want to start. You know, we may start Frank, have him go a couple of innings, even bring in Petty for an inning or so, and then go to Doc, something like that. Get everybody involved, give everybody different looks.
You need that.
Because
That's a good security blanket because not every team
it's
has more than 2 reliable arms in a playoff situation, which all 3 of those guys can use in a playoff situation. So if one guy gets beat up, you don't have to let the game blow up. Where you're like, we only have 2 arms. Someone has to pitch 3 innings.
it's especially in like an elimination game. You don't want to
You can
be.
blow it up first inning, you know, be like, well,
You
now
can't.
6 more innings.
You can't just like leave them in the whole game just to say like, all right, yeah, I'll pitch next game. Like, no, there is no next game. So like, you have to swallow your ego, kind of maybe get yourself out of there a little earlier, go to somebody else, and have them kind of work and just see what happens. Because we just give the teams too much of the same look. They take advantage, especially against the better teams. And when you're playing in the second round, you're going to get the better teams, like we have with cities or Goodfellas. So
need to do that stuff more often. In a regular season game, doesn't really matter so much because the game's
no,
things, and there's not really an opportunity. The game, if you score early, you're in such a huge advantage for the rest of that game, especially if you score in the first or second inning. Even if it's 2 or 3 runs, it's like being up 10 runs. But in a 7 inning game, down 3 runs, like that's not a big deal, especially when you know someone else needs to come in. You're getting another look. So by having flexibility, like a DK Chum game, a Screwball's enemy game, like Screwball is going to have to be super flexible in order to win. And those numbers show that they're a flexible team, which allows them a chance to beat an enemy. You can't be one dimensional against these best teams because it's yard. You're going to get hits. You're going to score runs, and they're going to score runs off you. So you need to figure out what way can I weasel through each inning without blowing the game up.
Yeah, and I think we've seen it, all the time. And when we do these golden games, or even in 5 inning games, teams lose it when they get to that decision time where it's like, all right, do I stay in or do I come out? And it's always the wrong decision if you have to even think about it, right? If you're even having the conversation, it probably means the guy should come out.
Yeah,
you're not having the conversation. That means the guy's rolling, and you don't talk to him. You let him keep rolling, and then he pitches his 4 innings, and you're done. But as we can attest to in the golf finals last year, sometimes you got to take a guy out. Or 2 years ago, sometimes you got to take a guy out. Can't leave him in. You can't push the envelope. You gotta make the decision faster ahead of the other team before they get a chance to get you get guys on base. And I don't know. I just feel like tomorrow. I keep saying tomorrow. Sunday. There's going to be so many times where teams are in that position where they have to decide: do I stick with this guy? Do I switch it up? And what's good about the Golden Games is it's not about a minimum, right? It's a maximum amount of innings. So you can have guys go maybe three. This guy can go three. So really, in a perfect situation for the dead end kids, they have Petty and FK somehow going 5 innings. And Doc can come in just for two, and then Doc can throw three the next game, and then save him for the last five of the finals. And you know, but who knows? It's all about the flow and the feel, and sometimes you just got to come in. You got to win that game, like you said, Caputo. You got to win the game. You can't hold them another inning. So that's why that decision is always so interesting. And most of the time, my teams have made the wrong decision. So you got to be in the position to get the decision. Vision. The Yankees lose yet?
Yeah,
Not watching.
All right.
Don't have Apple. Not subscribing.
Let's talk about the throwbacks, our last team here in round two, and then we'll quickly go through our final four teams because enough said about most of them. Throwbacks, another pretty good season, finishing in the 8th seed. Would have been a little lower if State of Mind was here because of win percentage, but nonetheless, still a top 10 season for the throwbacks in a 21-team league. So good for them. Shout out to Tero for showing up and doing some field crew on Sunday mornings as well. Appreciate his time. Let's take a look at their numbers here. Throwbacks, another one of these teams that they can hit a little bit, but it's going to be about pitching, and that's how they're going to win these games.
I mean, they got a good average mix of everything. They're they need to just do what they do and see how it shakes out. And I think that's kind of the approach they take each week is, they have a recipe of guys, and they all have a role, and whoever pitches has the same chances of winning as the next guy does. Their numbers are all fairly similar. I know that Chise has made some big strides, and they like to rely on him a little bit. And he's definitely has that gamer mentality. But overall, all their numbers are pretty average. But average doesn't mean bad. Average means you give up runs, but means you need to score them too. And I feel like those don't always add up for them. So when they score their runs, it's not always when they need it, and when they need the runs, they just don't. And they might lose games that are more lopsided than they should be based off their numbers, because their offensive numbers aren't bad. They just don't seem to score runs, in the games that they need to score the runs.
I was just having the thought. I feel like the throwbacks play a lot of one run games, and I'm looking at their total runs scored at 86 and their runs earned 82, and I feel like that's right there, right? Those are games. So that's pretty impressive, and they're always in it. Every time they come over to me, whether I know if they won or not, because I can never tell by JD's voice inflection. It kind of sounds the same if they win or lose. It's always 7-6, 4-3, 5-4, 6-5, 1-0. So they're in every game, and as long as you're in every game, you always have a chance, right? And being the home team in that first game, at least they know they have the hammer before they go lose to Wiffink. And having guys like Venus in the lineup in the bottom of the last inning, those are good things to have. So, but overall, yeah, their numbers are pretty decent. Not a lot of home runs as a team, but that's makes sense. Based there a lot of contact guys and doubles.
4 off from Johnny Whiff last week, or 3 or 4.
Who did?
Chise had 3 off Johnny Whiff last week.
There you go. That brings him up to 12.
It was really pathetic.
They do strike out a lot, though. 133 strikeouts. I feel like that's a lot. 133 strikeouts over 101 games. 1.3 strikeouts
per game.
I mean, bad. Not too bad. 5 sack flies a team. A couple of guys, one guy over OPS 1,000. Not bad. Tero's had a good year.
Oh, they're good.
Not bad. Tero, big drop in strikeouts though here. I mean, Chai's 50 strikeouts and then Tero down to 28. That's a nice big
Tero
drop.
makes a lot of contact, and he makes hard contact too, and he also swings a lot. So
yeah,
they get a little anxious. They press a lot because they know they're at times limited in how much they could score. So when they get guys on, they really want to score. So I do see them press sometimes. But they just got to play loose because they got a good little team, and they just got to do what they got to do and see what happens.
Yeah, and they got to feel good about their matchup here. Again, Hazardous or Yees, I feel like they think they can beat both those teams.
A
And
little Geoff versus JD round 2 matchup could be a heated battle.
yeah, that'll be nice. That could be a good live stream opportunities. Watch that game. And then, but again, unfortunately, I just don't give them much of a chance against Withink. And the problem with this quarterfinal game is that it's 5 in a game. It's a golden game. So it's just so hard to beat a team like Withink when you've got to face them so many times. And that'll be our quick segue into the final four here with Withink, Chum, Enemy, and Dark Knights, your top four. We'll just get Withink out of the way. What else could we possibly say about them that hasn't been said after each event, both fast pitch or medium pitch? They've dominated East Coast Wiffle Ball this year, and not even the East Coast Wiffle League, right? Just in general, geographically, East Coast Wiffle. These are some impressive numbers: 37-3 on the season, 143 points, a 925 win percentage. They've won 28 in a row, plus 229 run diff. These are enemy like 2016, 2017 numbers, if that. I don't even think we played that many games. So they've always
had an
many
unbelievable
bonus
year.
points.
Oh, man, the enemy last year won every single event. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
That's not
Had
true.
a 35-game winning streak. They lost game 3 of the season against Withink and then ran the table for the rest of the season,
Wow.
including the Open.
Well, fair enough.
Sick.
I guess that happens so often that I forget that it happened.
Yeah.
To be honest.
But I mean, it
Now I'm
doesn't
curious.
it doesn't feel as bad when it's the enemy. When it's Withink, now there's like a new enemy to worry about. It's like, all right, I had a hard enough time beating the enemy. Don't tell me now that there's a team that's harder to beat than them. Which at this time they are. They are that good right now. And it really comes down
31-1. Again, only 124 points though.
I think they lost to Whiff City.
Probably in that first game. The first game
Or
of the
then the Storm, whatever they
won
were
30 in a
Whiff
row.
City.
No, they were with City last year.
They were Whiff City.
Well, they
I
lost
believe they
Whiff-
lost to Whiff City.
Oh, can you let me speak? They lost to Withink. Literally like game 2 of pool play, game 3 of pool play, week 1, when I went and screamed at them for taking so long and throwing
Check
so
it. Check
they
it.
were in a game and they were throwing them styles throwing
He's
like
right. I think the game went to a shootout.
to a shootout, and then eventually they beat the enemy, and then the enemy didn't lose the rest of the year.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately having to agree with Bob here, Caputo. Unfortunately, I do remember this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're wrong.
And there it is.
You laid a pretty detailed description.
There it is. 3-2 in a shootout. We should start writing the timestamp of how long this game. This is probably a 3-hour game. Right. Who knows? No, we don't put the runs in, I guess. Tough seeing. Let's see. Styles pitching, Ty pitching. Boring.
Yeah. Two of the best teams.
And actually, Ty pitching this game and having it be only 3-2 is a win for the enemy. That's a disappointing loss for them because they generally struggle when Ty pitches because Ty struggles pitching. So, and that's going to be the enemy's interesting. Didio's there. It's Didio Norris, but Norris injured. Ty's on the mound, and maybe Pill.
Oof.
Pill.
Oh. I mean, interesting open season for the enemy.
Pill.
And it'll be even more embarrassing when they still win.
Yeah. Well, that's what Phil does. Phil's a big coattail rider. He's got a passport for coattails.
Well, we talked more about the enemy than Whiff City, or Whiff Inc. rather.
That's all right. We'll get it back to Whiff Inc. in a second. But well, I'm on the enemy page now, so we'll just talk about the enemy while they're here, while they're on the page. Didio, you said, was flying in, so again, that's good for them. They need his arm, especially with Kevin hurt. Let me look at this. Look at this.
Is Handel showing up?
This is terrible. This is bad. Let's get in this right here.
Wow.
That's what Peter hit that year he was blind.
Yeah, with a lot. He batted 130. It was 133, 130, 141. Something really, really awful.
It's really some really embarrassing. So I mean, it just goes to show that I'm the best lot player ever. Because I mean, Phil clearly has just lost it. Sean hates the game. Didio stinks. Fug's retired, and Anthony just admitted to have a terrible season. So
No, you go to my. I didn't have a terrible season.
Don't forget about G.
G,
Um,
well, G sucks, but he had a good year too.
Hey,
Offensively, he stinks on the mound.
nice try. He's got that forkball.
I don't know.
And one
This enemy
finger
team should be
slider.
interesting. It really depends on who shows up Sunday. I do think they'll have a full squad. It's just again, I don't know how limited Kevin is, and will Phil get at bats? I mean, with the 132 average, I wouldn't play him. Please. I mean, it's crazy. He's got 12 hits and 91 at bats, 10 singles,
I don't know how that's possible.
and 2 home
That's
runs.
definitely balling. I don't
Well,
know.
some of his
That's
stats might
Steve's
be all
problem.
skewed because on when he was on the fun squad and the fake lemon heads, and so
A lot of not trying.
a lot of bad players.
Also, could be true.
OPS is 490. That's criminal.
And the team OPS is still almost 12.
But he's got a sack fly.
All right, can we stop talking about Pill?
Yeah, nah, it's funny though.
I think that sack fly was against us.
213 ERA though, not bad, not bad. Well, enemies speaking for themselves. Let's go to Whiff Inc. Let's check out their season quick, and then we'll talk about the Chum, who I think are not getting enough love in the sense that they have had a good season, and there was some questioning about whether or not they should have been allowed to play as a 5 or whether they've been good as a 5, and they really haven't played as a 5 at all this year. So actually, it works out nice when you want to have enough roster flexibility. But here's With Inc. And these numbers are going to be pretty disgusting. So again, there's definitely some stats missing from these guys because there's no way they only play 19 games batting wise. They play 19 games in 2 weeks. So
When did Red show up?
oh, is this the wrong year still? I'm in 2022. That's why. Tough scene. I was like, what is going on, Tyler?
When did Red show up last year? I don't even remember seeing him last
Probably
year.
sub for 1 week. Here we go. It was more like a 38 games, double. It's more like it.
Yeah.
These are impressive numbers. Wow, 2 guys batting over 500.
Good. So just for the record, you were looking at
Guys
enemies
slugging
last year
900.
stats.
What?
You were looking at enemies last year stats. Just
No,
for
I
the
had the
record.
2 different tabs open. That
Oh,
tab
okay,
is still
okay, okay.
2022.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
I forgot.
I mean, these are like how many home runs they've hit. I mean, this is ridiculous.
it's
Almost 30 home runs.
yeah.
These are like
They
MLB
hit more than full
numbers.
team.
203 at bats. This is a full season in the MLB.
Yeah. Yeah.
40 walks, 30 strikeouts.
1,400 a team 1,400 OPS. That's enemy-esque from
That's very good.
the days of yore.
I mean, this is why they're going to be the team to beat on Sunday because their offense is nonstop, and I feel like as dominant as the enemy have been, and this is not a knock on any of them, but their team is Kevin, kind of picking it up when they need to most of the time, and everybody else does plenty, trust me, but it's Kevin on this team. It's all 4 of these guys are going to be there. They're all 4. I don't know. It's just a very, very difficult team to face as a pitcher, and I don't know. I'm not quite sure how you're going to beat these guys.
Yep.
I don't know. I can't offer.
It's theirs to lose, for sure, and they know it considering Kevin's issues right now. So, but they can still lose. They don't have the best mental game at times. They lost to the Screwballs like 3 times last year, and sometimes early, in the week in the bracket. So, if you can hold them down for a couple innings, it makes them think twice about it. So that's all. It's really come down to no one's really put up much of a fight to them all year. You let them get ahead in the first, second inning, and there's no looking back. If they're up 7-0, you're not coming back. If it's 3-0, 2-0, you're always a bloop and a blast away. And Mike Styles has been known to lose the zone or give up a homer. And Kenny's not unhittable by any means. He's super strong. They all are aces and should all.
Kenny's their worst pitcher technically.
Yeah.
If you want to go by I don't know. I guess you go by the stats.
Got to fake Styles and Ben all day. At least I can hit that shitty knuckleball from both of them.
Yeah.
Kenny just throws an unhittable slider from 3 different, Bengals. And
What's the wind forecast for Sunday?
good question.
5 to 10, I believe.
That's nothing. That's nothing. Sometimes
Normal.
you
That's a
get some
normal day.
days.
Could be a normal breeze.
Yeah, calm morning.
Love that. Well,
So,
like you said,
I mean, that is a factor, though. I mean, not so much by the time Kenny and them are playing, but like those early games sometimes are a little different because it is so calm. It might be tougher to get it out or easier to pitch or whatever it may be. Teams like the Enemy and Whiffink are impossible to beat when the wind is blowing out. Same with State of Mind. Like those teams just slug the ball, and it makes it really tough. Like those years when we played an Old E and everyone was facing the same way and the wind's blowing out. You could not beat Kevin and the Enemy when the wind's blowing out at E at 15 miles an hour in the middle of the summer. Like they had no chance. So the fact that Whiffing has made it easy for themselves every week, they get their nice choice of the good side where they can just slug homers nicely, and it becomes real simple for them. And if the wind's blowing in, well, they got three aces who aren't going to let you make much contact. So they really have the recipe for both types of situations.
I agree. I agree. And when all those playoff games will be on the street side, so where the wind, generally does blow out a little bit. But it's blown in. If it blows in, like you said, it could be anything. It could be anybody's game. All right. Let's talk about the Chum here. Chum 19-11 on the season, moving into that 4 spot. The Enemy jumping them with a good week last week, and again another lineup here that a lot of offense. Will Arena is, I think, one of the most not talked about offensive players in the league. He's an opposite way machine. I think unfortunately their excessive pitch clock abuse and warm-ups have put cast a shadow on an otherwise pretty good season. But
I would say they've done what they wanted to do, right? They wanted to add players and kind of, show the league that they deserve to be here and that they kind of play with a little bit of an attitude overall. I think most of that is will. They play like they expect to win, which is a good attitude to have. I'm not saying that, but that doesn't make friends all the time either. So I think there's teams that kind of look at them like, no, fuck you guys. I played in this league for 10 years. Like, you're not going to come in here and beat us. So that creates good competition for sure. I have heard some complaints of their speed and definitely, excessive abuse of the pitch clock and warm ups. I guess they watch videos before playing in the league. But that's less of an issue than it is if you're throwing too hard. So if this guy's throwing hard and creating a problem, that's certainly something we want to nip right away, because these teams don't. A team like the Chum don't need to do that. Scott Elliott and Will and Brian and Jim and all those guys are good enough players on their own to not have to throw too hard before it becomes habitual. It's something that they need to correct for sure.
Peter, your thoughts on the Chummy Chum?
Again, surprising year. They really just came out of the gate hot and just held it all year. Had really good games with them. Just really good hitters, just going through the stats, just from top to bottom. Although McCann is their sort of, I guess, their like faux ace sort of a thing. I mean, he's their best pitcher if you go by their stats too. I guess you could say he's the one that, throws a little hard. I know Scott has heard it since him coming into the league that he's been throwing a little hot. I think he's toned it down a little bit, but I think McCann, still being a little new, still has to get acclimated to the speed, which I think will happen eventually, hopefully. But yeah, like these guys just rake top to bottom. They're all, I mean, I haven't been really rubbed the wrong way in how they play. I know some guys have a little bit of a problem, but I enjoy playing them. We've had good back and forth. We lose some, we win some. And they're just a good team, and they're good to have. They're a good surprise for the league. They jumped right up, grabbed the top 4 spot, well deserved. And let's see how they hold up, because if we win, we get them, and we want them.
Well, I had basically half this team on my goal team last year, so I'd like to say that I'm partially responsible for their headiness. But I watch Brian Wu play sometimes, and he's kind of a scramble brain, and I saw that at goal as well. So he's part of the problem with taking too long and pitching, and they're like overly obsessed with the minutiae of the game, which is like really crazy to see from like kind of guys who are just getting into it, but they're like that deep in the intricacies of the game, which is why they're picking these things up so fast and beating teams who have played in the league for 10 years, quite handedly already. So, if they just speed things up and figure out maybe their brain needs to, the synapses need to fire a little quicker. Maybe, maybe the Adderall's getting to them. I don't know what it is. Maybe,
Yeah, you need those
they
connections.
need to figure it out and play a little faster. But overall, they're sick players. I love Scott Elliott's game. He just punishes the ball all the time. He's a bad ball hitter. He's a really good pitcher. He's a slick fielder, and you know,
Now they can play the field too. They can do all three pretty well. So
really, really good. So
And what I think gives them an advantage, a little bit of an advantage, if they make it to that game against Wiffink, is still a lot of that like newness. They don't really. Yes, they acknowledge Kenny's a great player and all that stuff, but like they don't really know them that well. They're in the league 2 years. They're not like, oh my god. And this is what we said about Matt Boscarino when he pitched that unbelievable game against Pagano and the Open last year and that Saturday night. Like he doesn't know who Pagano is. He doesn't give a shit who this guy is. He's just another wiffleball guy. He's not, doesn't know his history, doesn't know his background, doesn't know he's got all these great accolades. So he just goes out there and plays the game. And I think that's what's going to give Chum an advantage if they do make it against Wiffink is that, hey, who are these guys? Like, we don't know them. Great. All these successes they've had. Cool. I've known them in the league 2 years.
royalty.
Yeah, great. Let me go beat them. And that's a kind of team that, maybe they play a little bit of a head game and they kind of get under Withing's skin a little bit with some of the talking and maybe a little questioning. They got a little screwball in them with some of the things they say. I don't think they're aloof as they come off to be. I think they're calculated in the words they choose to say when they make a comment about a situation. I think they're savvy vets already for only being in the league 2 years.
I think they'd be very smart to play that game super strange and maybe shorten their lineup and switch things out. And it's a 7 inning game. Play a 3-man lineup and give everyone 4 at bats and then switch things around. Have McCann pitch 3 innings and then come sit. To give Will Arena and Scott Elliott a ton of at bats because those 2 bats are fucking solid. Brian Woo's a slick hitter too, but Will and Scott are really, really impressive hitters. So, if you did something like that, that's how you got to beat a team like Wiffing. Like, use your roster flexibility to your advantage in that game.
And what is good about their lineup here is that they can throw 3 guys. They could throw 4 guys. They have Vargas has thrown at least amount of games. He can easily pitch. And this is again an opportunity where maybe everyone goes 2 innings, and again you stay ahead of the curve. You only go through the lineup once, maybe. Well, you got to go through it twice at least, probably. Right? You got to go through only twice though, instead of 3 times, and you make a change, and now you stay on top of it, and it frustrates with Think. Now they're like, oh, it's a new pitcher we have to look at, and those are the ways you have to beat these better teams, and we've said that a few times in this show, right? Though you can't just beat them by pummeling them or throwing one guy out there and hoping for the best. You've got to beat them at their own game, and that's being better strategists and strategery, as a famous president once said. And I think they have the lineup to do that, like you said. That would be a really good game to watch if they made it there.
They play it in that way, Some guys go into those games already beaten, Will Arena wants to go to the Yankee game so bad, these sorts of things like, oh, what time the thing's going to wrap up so I know what I could do with the rest of my. That means it's already in your head about, oh, I'm not going to make it. I'm playing Wiffing. Like the Dark Knights do that all the time. They complain about their brackets. They see a team that is tough to beat and they don't want to, sack up and see what happens. Like, yeah, you're probably going to lose, but you're going to sit there and act defeated before you even play. Then why do it at all? Like, yeah, we all want the cupcake road. You want to look at your bracket and be like, oh my God, everything's kind of winnable until we get to that point. But why compete then? So that separates certain teams.
He can't compete.
You want to come in and compete. So I hope that they show up with that approach because that gives them their best chance to win. If they come in there half defeated, you're not going to beat a team like Wiffing. So maybe you have one chance a year to beat them. And maybe it's Sunday.
Wow.
Because that's Wiffing's first game.
Wow. Look at Coach Rob. Look at the Pash. Well, Speaking of guys like the Dark Knights, they're the only team we really have spoken very little about, which I couldn't be happier about. But let's talk about them. They do deserve it. They've had a very good season, and they continue to just come in and year out and just put up points, put up numbers, put up stats, put up competition. But they just can't win the big one, and that's the regionals. They did get a super qualifier win last year or 2 years ago, whatever it was, and you know, I don't know. Maybe this is the moment they've been waiting for. They have a fairly good draw. No offense to Earl, they get to avoid with Inc. They have to face the enemy who they've played very well in their history, and they're a team that probably would rather face enemy in a golden game because they can get some more looks as opposed to only having to face one guy in a 5 inning game. They probably like the golden game idea, and I like their chances if they play well. If Hargaden can walk and not ground into double plays, if Tyler cannot swing at everything in the dirt, if Matt Valenti can, make unbelievable plays in the field, if Mike Valenti can pitch great, and if Nick Valenti can continue to say that the game is easy for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a great year, Nick.
I agree. I would say most improved, but it's like a slow improvement every year with him, and it's not been this huge jump, and he's just, 371. It's a very good average for him, all things considered, from where he's come. I feel like he's always been like a low threes, high twos guy. Now he's high threes, 11 bombs, 38 ribbies. Guys getting in the gym, pumping that iron with MV Fitness, which is a defunct organization. Another victim of Bidenflation, I'm sure.
Sounds fake.
Tough scenes, but
sounds fake.
Dark Knights are an interesting squad, man. They really are. They can beat anybody, and they certainly can lose to anybody.
Yep.
I think they practice too much.
I don't think they practice all anymore.
I'm kidding.
That's why they've had a good season.
Everything's a practice. Everything's a practice game. Practice round.
Yeah, everything's a practice round. They got no They have no passion. They're bad players, but they show up every week and complain. So they must like.
They've turned into 20-year veteran wiffleball players now. They've turned into
that's pretty much it. They've turned into whiff snobs. They don't practice anymore. They just complain about things, and then they show up, and then they beat everyone. So
they expect easy draws. They expect handouts. They expect cupcakes. And...
Yeah, for a bunch of Republican guys, they're pretty liberal.
But, listen. Nonetheless, though, great numbers. Mike Valenti, 11-5, 209 ERA. Good stuff.
That Dan Hardy
strikeout, 65 innings.
ERA really sticks out to me as well.
Yeah, well, he doesn't qualify with this 3 innings pitch. Not ideal.
Great guys with good numbers. All jokes aside, but we'll see.
Team over 500, pretty solid. Yeah, everyone's over 500. That's
good. Yeah, I wish I had any of those numbers.
They're becoming a team that run rules the bad teams. Like the new team, the rookie team. Like Earl doesn't even do that. We win 4-0 because we're sitting there jerking around the whole time, and then we wonder why we're always like the 8th seed and play the whiffing in the second round. It's like
they've also become a team that would bat 5 and be bad. Now they bat 5 and they're less bad because Nick Valenti used to be one of those guys who was kind of like an auto out, and Matt Valenti was whatever. But Matt Valenti's solid. Nick Valenti's solid. Harden become the guy who's like
284. Dancing 284. It's good.
He's almost 600. That's insane.
A lot of walks. He's a walk machine.
Yeah.
51 walks.
Guy knows how to get on base.
The guy's got a good eye.
His OPS is almost 1,000. Like, that's not a bad player. That's quite a good player.
That's not a role player.
He's for the team, but he's their bad. He's their bad. He's a bad player. He's their bad player, and he fits perfectly in there, and he knows it. Best role player in the game.
That's enough talking about that.
I'm just looking at his numbers. I'm just fascinated.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He hit 3 homers. I'd love to see them.
I'd love to see them.
Not on video. Didn't happen.
What were you saying?
Not on video. Didn't happen.
Well, a lot of things don't happen this league. All right, so thank you for. I know we kind of got a little drawn out there in the last 45 minutes or so, but talking whiffs and enjoying it. So before we go, real quick, one team that you think is going to make a run, and then of whiffing and enemy, who would be upset? and where would it be? So let's start with which team is going to make a run, and I guess that would segue into who you think would upset Enemy or Whiffink. We'll start with Bob.
Um, I got to say that, if it ends up being Earl Dark Knights, I think that's a matchup that could upset Fake Enemy. Earl played Enemy last year in the regional final. We luckily didn't have to face Whiffink. I think Enemy took care of them for us. I don't remember who we beat or what we did to get there. It doesn't really matter. And we played. I think by the time we played them, it was only Connor and I. I think Winnie was there for most of the day. Eventually left, whatever. So we were up against it no matter what. It wasn't a game that we were going to win, but like we played them tough the whole time, and we always do. And it's about needing a full team effort to score runs the whole time. But I think you might see less runs scored at an Enemy just because of what's going on and a longer lineup and whatever decisions they need to make. But, there's certainly, you certainly rather have them than Whiffink right now. So I think it comes from the Enemy side. And I think it's, us or Dark Knights or, God forbid the Dumps make a run. Like at that point, anything's possible. If it's Dumps Enemy, that means the Dumps got through a nice slate there, so I give them a shot. And I don't see the Screwballs being a slouch against the Enemy either. So I don't think Enemy feels like they're head and shoulders better than anyone right now. So I think they take it real seriously, which could be a problem for anyone who has to play them too. So we'll see. I don't think it comes from the Whiffing side. I'm sorry. I don't care what happens. Dead End Kids Chum could play a Hall of Fame type game that 1,000 people watch on stream. They're still probably going to get run over by Whiffink in the semifinals.
Agreed.
It's just the way things go. I mean, Chum could give them a game if they listen to Bob, which they won't because Brian Wu doesn't listen. They have a chance, but they won't. That's just reality. That's just young kids. That's young kids. They gotta lose those games to win those games next year.
That's true. That's a good point.
Right.
Tito, who's going to go on a run?
Presuming now, if we lose our first, round 2 game, it would be against Whiff City. I think Whiff City could go on a run. I think they could probably face Whiffink in the semis. They just have that team. I think that they have the makeup to upset the Chum if they get past us. I think they could beat the Chum. I don't think the Goodfellas can really match up with the Chum like DEK or Whiff City can. As far as an upset goes, presuming the Bombskis advance, I think the Screwballs advance in that little cluster, and I think they would beat the Enemy. I think the Screwballs could very well make a good game out of that and advance and face either Earl or Dark Knights. Whiffink, I mean, obviously no surprise whether it be Whiffink or the Enemy advancing all the way through. I would just have to put my money on Whiffink. There's really no point to betting the field. There's no good value there because, as you can see throughout the season, Whiffink has just run the table throughout. So I would take no token pick from the top if it would have to be between those two. But Whiffink.
If I was betting, if I had to place a bet, I'd put my entire life savings on the Enemy still. It was probably the first time ever they're plus money.
Yeah. I mean, you could definitely toss a side bet on that. I wouldn't fight you for it. It wouldn't be a bad choice at all. I mean, because they're still the Enemy. I mean, Ty, they still have good bats. Like Ty still hits everything. Handel still gets timely hits, and Didio, Didio's and Norris can still hit. He's just not going to pitch. So
Enemy's probably like plus 150 to win, whereas Whiffink's like minus 200 to win.
Oh no, I think they're like minus 400 to win.
Whatever it is, right? But like, it's not a big long shot still, because at the end of the day, you put Enemy against Whiffink. In reality, it still is like a 50-50 shot. While their rosters are wildly different and their records are different. Didio versus the Kennys and Phil versus there's so much repetition between those teams, that's an even matchup once they
It is.
start,
It is at the end.
playing each other. So,
But that's again.
yeah,
But
there's a better chance of the enemy getting knocked off by someone else before it ever gets to that point.
right.
Here's what Wiffink is praying for, just in case.
Right. That's the point of the bet. But like before the bracket shakes out, you'd have more odds of the enemy getting knocked off before Wiffink would. But if the enemy do make it there, it's still a toss up between Wiffink and them. I would agree.
See what
Yeah,
happens.
I actually agree also with you, Anthony, that with City, if they get past the Goodfellas, because they could easily lose to Goodfellas 2-0. But if they win that game, I could see them easily going on a run and beating the Chum and getting to Withink, and then I don't think they have a chance. Else. But I like Whiff City.
Whiff City could easily beat us 1-0 on a late home run or something.
The DK franchise has lost a lot of games that they're supposed to win over the last couple of years. So really, since that Players Cup victory with Peter, they've lost a lot of games they should win, and that this could be another one of those games. And they need to get over the hump and not look ahead and just do. You guys got to do what you got to do. In terms of an upset, I also agree that the Screwballs will be the team that could knock off the enemy. And if it's not them, I do think it's going to be the Dark Knights who are going to get past Earl and are going to get past and they're going to beat the enemy. Unfortunately, what I think is going to happen, it's going to be Dark Knights Screwballs. And I think the Dark Knights are going to lose to the Screwballs mentally. Wow. And it'll be a Screwballs Wiffink final. And I think that will be a very good game. A very good Wiffleball game around 2 p.m. Eastern this Sunday on, I guess, Facebook and YouTube, maybe whatever other thing we have going. Those are my predictions, and maybe the Chechos will get off my back about how I talk about them on these podcasts. Because I just said that they're going to make a run to the finals and could knock off Wiffink, so they can go down. With that being said, I would be remiss knowing that we did not actually bring up the exit bracket. Just want to talk about that real quick. So all the teams that lose in round 1 and round 2 will drop into this exit bracket, play a couple of games for a chance to win their entry to the Open, 150 scuttles.
See you there, Rob.
Yeah. I would say this first round will be Yee versus Game Changers, and then you've got this will be Wahoos versus Goodfellas. And then it'll probably be Goodfellas versus Game Changers for an exit final, and I think you can pencil that in right now. And then this other one, I think you'll see. I think Throwbacks will beat Hazardous, so it'll be Hazardous versus DK if you guys lose to Whiff City.
We don't plan on it. Nice try.
And then the other one would be
Speculate.
Whoever Bomb Skis versus Dumps.
Why are we assuming who's?
Wow.
Well, we're just going through the matchups. Who we think we would lose those games and see who would drop into the exits. And I really think it's going to be Goodfellas Game Changers in that first exit bracket. So I mean, they've played each other 12 million times. Why not 12 million in one?
Bring the gabagool.
Yeah, well, good segue into the last bracket we have not talked about, and that will be the Comeback Cup bracket. Here we go. All right, so we have 3 teams playing in this year's Comeback Cup bracket because the River Cats, although going 3-0 the last week, were obliterated by Earl and no longer want to play Wiffleball again. And they are not making it to the playoff day. That's not why.
That's not true. Is it?
No, that's not why.
It's more like
actually they're more motivated to be like, wow, we lost to them. Wow, I gotta get better. So here's your format for the Comeback Cup. You'll have the Gobagools, Liberty, and Bandits will play each other in a little 2-game round robin. The higher standing seed at home, which is the Bandits, they are the highest seed of the 3. After those 2 games, we'll reseed them. The bottom 2 will play a 5-inning semifinal game, and then the winner will move on to face the 1 seed after those games in a 6-inning golden game for some good cash. Comeback Cup is always still important to the league and like having it and want to give away some points and give away some money as well to these teams. Should be a good game. I've made a living in the Comeback Cup. Everyone knows this. This is where I thrive.
It's good.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think about this little 3-team bracket? Who do you like? Who you don't like? And why?
I want to see the Bandits take it down. personally.
Oh, sorry.
Roman and the crew were well deserving of a little free open entry. And the exit brackets, I don't care who wins, but whoever does gets a free open entry, so good for them.
I agree. Caputo, what do you think about the comeback cup? What do you think here?
I like it actually. I wish there were a couple more teams involved to fill it out a little bit better, but you got to do what you got to do. The Gabagools are an interesting team. They come down and take their lumps. Jimmy Q always a blast to play with, and Joey Cavs really carries that team. I'm gonna have to say that the Gabagools would probably win that bracket. But I'd love to see the Liberty come down. Haven't seen them much. I think they came down a couple of times this year.
Yeah, I don't know. These are interesting games because I really think they're all pretty even. And they each have one guy who can pitch. I think Liberty, Jake Lurie. Well, I guess not really Jake. Really, it's Matty B is probably their ace. So Matty B will be out there. The Gabagools will throw Cavalier, like you said, but they also could throw Jimmy Q, who made some great strides in goal and pitched decently better this year. So they have two pitchers, right?
That guy has pass, man.
The Bandits are an interesting team. I feel like they're another team that's kind of always like losing close games, and they can hit a little bit. I don't know if their pitching is there though. Brian Roman are 5-2. Those are pretty good numbers. Yeah, I don't know. They're an interesting team, these guys. They're there to barbecue and have a good time, but they also want to win.
I was about to say they haven't brought the excuse me, they haven't brought the barbecue. What's with that?
I don't know. Maybe not enough charcoal. Oh, maybe they'll bring it this week. It's playoff. You never know.
It was a Lance thing. Maybe Lance brought the barbecue.
They also were so funny. They lost in the first round of the playoffs last week, right? Or 2 weeks ago. And they just sat under their tent on the far side and stayed like basically until midway through the semifinals. They just stayed in the tents, stayed in their chairs, presumably doing what they do best. And it was just like every time I looked over them, like, oh my God, the Bandits are still here in their same exact seats, like watching whiffs. So, like, I love it. They have great passion. These are great guys. Another great find for the league. These four guys have been really good. And a lot of goal veterans on these guys on this roster as well.
Yeah.
Good dudes. Yeah, I don't know. I think this comeback cup could be interesting. I really do. I really think it could be any of these three teams. I'd like to see the Liberty win. I'd like to see the kids win. They've made some
definitely.
They beat the throwbacks like the first two events, so that was nice.
I think it's Liberty's to lose in terms of talent. I mean, they've proven that they've played like State of Mind really tough, Dark Knights they've played tough. So like those two kids hit. Bobby Teets hits. And Jake
batted 321, 11 games, not too bad.
Jake's just terrible on the mound, so like you really shouldn't let him pitch.
Yeah, 1-3, 7-5. He struggles, man. He loves throwing that screwball and he likes throwing it for balls. But another guy, yeah, again, they keep coming back. They're getting a little better and better. They come down and play whiffs, and they have a good time doing it. And Jake did bat 400 though this year. That's very good.
That's good.
He had 4 homers, 17 RBIs. Not bad in 14 games. 400 average, 591 OBP though. That's pretty low. So not a lot of walks, I'd imagine. 31 walks. I mean, not bad. 31 walks, 14 games. More than 2 walks a game. That's good.
600 OBP is incredible.
I was more saying like the difference though. Like I feel like bat 400, your OBP would be higher than 591.
Well, and how much higher can it be if you're hitting 400? That means you don't have a million opportunities to walk. 30 walks,
right.
Still in 400 is pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's true. That's why Johnny Chech was 899.
Johnny hit 500 and he had 40 walks, and his OBP was 700.
He did it in 60. Remember, he had 64 at bats, right? Lurie has 60 at bats.
It's actually very similar. He's just 100 points less than average.
Yeah, 1225 OPS. Lurie's got some pop, and you're right. I think this is Liberty's.
Yeah, he runs into one. He can run into one.
It's a recipe of who you play to. A team like a guy like Johnny, on the screwballs, they're playing tight games, they're playing tough games, they're advancing into playoff weeks, they're playing with things, they're playing the enemy. Liberty plays, some lower end teams a lot too. And a lot of those lesser teams do. It's both ways. They get their ass kicked early, but then it kind of works out later.
I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily true because if they do squeak into the playoffs, they're always facing a Wiffink or an enemy or somebody in that 116-215 game.
Or they don't make it, they're playing an exit game. No.
Right. If they don't make it, well, yes, obviously. Well, you say that about any team that doesn't make it, though. But I wouldn't just blanket statement that they've played lesser opponents all year because they've made the playoffs and they've lost to the 1 and 2 seed a lot. So I would say that's not necessarily bad opponents.
If they're one of 3 teams in the comeback cup, though, they haven't made the playoffs very often.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
Likely, then they're playing each other, and which would mean that maybe it's going to be a bunch of good games because they play each other, they score a bunch of runs off each other. So here we go. I want to see the Bandits. I want to see the Bandits win, celebrate. That's what I want. As much as I love Jimmy Q, he's the best guy in the game.
Guy comes down, has a lot of passion.
God brings product too, unannounced.
I think the Ghouls, I guess, have probably the top to bottom, probably the weakest lineup of the 3 teams.
Cavs showing up.
Is Cav showing up? Is he selling houses? Who knows? Who knows? But they're gamers, so and that's what makes the Comeback Cup interesting, right? Like any of these 3 teams could really. Those first 2 games are kind of more to just play some games. They're not going to make or break the day. Obviously, you want to make it to the final game and not have to play an extra game. But we've seen this a million times in any tournament. Sometimes you want to play more games because you get into a rhythm and you stay hot. And when you have to wait and then get back into it, you're not as it's tough to get back up. You never know.
Should be interesting.
Yeah. All right, folks. I guess that'll wrap it up for our show. Again, first game will be at 8 a.m. on a Sunday. Please be there. We want to make sure we get all these games started, and because despite the lesser amount of games, it is still a longer day. Not necessarily a longer day, but it's still a long day because Golden Games take a long time. And we've got Didio will be there, the Chum will be there, and Wiffink will be there. So
and the Screwballs.
And then the Screwball. So pencil in 30 to 45 minutes of nothing for no reason at various points on the day. But still, nonetheless, it's going to be a great day of whiffs. The weather's going to be nice. I think the anticipation for playoffs is there. It's thickening, and it'll be a nice dress rehearsal for the Open. So I'll leave it with you guys. Your final thoughts. We'll go with Caputo. Thanks for joining us and being a part of the little telecast we've got here. And
sure.
You'll be receiving that $10 fine for your F-bomb a few hours ago. And
I'll put a penny in the swear jar. Don't worry. It was a exciting regular season so far. Like I said before, just a lot of surprises, good parity. Good to see. I'll repeat myself. Just good to see new faces or just unsuspecting guys having really good years that you wouldn't normally see. And now it's a good template now to form your Gaul team going forward or possible prospects in the years to come. Maybe try to snipe some guys off those respective teams and maybe build something that'll actually compete with the powerhouses that everybody's losing to. But just a great year again. Just a lot of fun, as it always is.
Well said. Bobbert.
League's done. All right, guys, it's over.
Wiffink takes it.
Wow, really, really, really articulate stuff. Very good.
You gotta keep guys guessing. Gotta make sure that guys don't what do I want to say? Overstay their welcome by having a lot of issues with league management for no reason. Really, that's a bad tone for the league and has really created frustrations internally. And it's not what we want to see. We want to see a nice, productive, family-friendly league. We got guys bringing their kids into the league now, and we don't want guys. We don't need infighting. We don't need guys beating each other up because they just want to make a stink and make a complaint for no reason. And league's fine the way it is. So shut your mouth and play or don't come. Oh, sorry. I thought I was Spug for a minute there. I went on a rant.
Wow. Wow. See, but
Wow.
you were like glossing over it. I would have came right out and said it's good. It's guys like Connor Young that ruined it. I would have just said it. I don't know why I had to dance it out so much. Hour and a half show, people just wanted to wait for me to say that Connor Young is the cancer of the league and ruining everybody, and not the reason why people want to come down. And I actually heard from pretty good sources that Earl had a very fun week without Connor there the last week, and then especially the week after before that. You know, he's injured. My goodness.
He's got that back, right?
He's got that strained prongus.
Yeah, it's a tough scene. But nonetheless, yeah. I mean, listen, is my first season. Not really, you know. Obviously, I didn't play except the 1 week, so it was nice to like observe all the teams for a change, and actually feel like I have a pretty good idea of all the talent level out there. It was nice to kind of watch everybody play. It was fun. It was felt like the events moved a little faster, which was nice. But I do want to play, so I'll be out there looking for a team at the Open. Way Too Beautiful. Get to my text. Just saying. So maybe that'll be a good time. And I'm looking forward for Gaul. I'm itching for Gaul now because I didn't really play at all this summer.
Gotta get involved in it.
So I'm itching to get back out there. I've seen how bad the league is and continues to be, and it's actually it's upsetting to me that I have to.
You already needs to unretire just to prove a point to be like, listen, guys, like this is pathetic. How bad we.
I mean, you guys are so bad. I mean, I've seen so many bad players this year, and I'm just like, and the players would have been right in it. We would have been right there. We would have been like 49, 50 points, been like the 9 seed, underachieving.
Yeah, you would have been tied with 50 points with me, us, you, you, screwballs, and throwbacks all have 50 points.
Yeah, and we probably would have gotten screwed with the win percentages too because we would have showed up every week and lost a bunch of games we shouldn't have lost.
Would I would have been on your team?
No.
I mean, do you really want to be on that franchise? I mean, the last time we played together, somebody quit. Peter. Oh, and they you know.
He quits every year.
He would be
That's a
dying to
point
play on
there.
the players right now after what he had to deal with this year. Because look at him now.
That's true.
The players of the Montreal Expos. We took a break, but we're coming back, and we're changing our color scheme. We're going to black and white, and it'll be film noir style, real 1920s vibes. It'll be good. And then you know, maybe I'll have to play barefoot for a whole season. Maybe that's what it takes. Maybe that's what it takes.
You re-sign Jake Baddock.
Yeah, we'll see. I need guys who want to show up though. Not only 2 weeks. You know, we need some more commitment. You know, I don't want to hear about your lives. Tough scene. But anywho, again, first pitch 8 a.m. Sunday. Looking forward to seeing everybody there. If you're playing in the second round, please be there by 8:30. If you're playing in the quarterfinals, if you're the top 4 teams, please be there by 9:15, so that you have time to warm up. Because if you show up late and we're ready to go, you're not going to warm up. You got to figure it out. The buy isn't so for you to show up 2 hours late. The buy is for you to show up and be able to relax and warm up and be ready to go. So get it together, and I expect those teams will be there ready to go.
Rick.
All right, fire me up.
See you on Sunday.
Au revoir.
Second.